Welcome to the Buckcast episode 10. Today we will continue last week's episode with Sean. Please enjoy.
Welcome back. Okay, we had a short interruption, but we are back.
Yeah.
Ready to keep going. What did you just make me do?
I made you take my B-roll from me. It's like a thing where it's like you take a photo every single day.
Oh, is it for your
It's not like Instagram or anything, but it's just the app B-roll.
Interesting. Okay.
So
I guess shout out to them or whatever.
let's go.
Yeah, we were talking about here, blah blah blah, Dinomorphia.
Oh yeah, we're talking about trap decks.
Trap decks. Yeah, I don't know. I think I remember when Master Duel, we were all complaining about it needing a ban list.
Yeah. Oh man.
In my opinion, I wanted like all of the floodgates to be like limited to one. Because, well, obviously some people are like, oh, they should all be banned. I thought in my giant massive brain that if they were all limited to one, they'd have to, first of all, it limits the maximum number they can have.
Yeah, true.
Instead of it being up to half their deck,
It's
like max 10 cards, and at that point they're playing some really whack floodgates. And in general, it's like if you have to play one of each, eventually you're going to be playing a floodgate that also hurts your deck.
Yeah.
You know? It's like Eldritch, there can be only one, isn't actually that good in Eldritch.
Yeah, because you just pray that they don't have anything to beat over.
Because then it's just literally just Eldritch.
Yeah.
You can't actually use any of the trap effects. So they'd prefer to be on, playing Gozen and Rivalry and stuff. But if it's all at one, then
you kind of gotta. At that point, it's kind of luck based. But in my opinion, like Master Duel is kind of also still like luck based.
yeah.
Kind of sucks because especially like, oh my god, trap tricks. Because like I think when Master Duel first started, trap tricks and outlets were like the banes of everyone's existence.
Yeah.
It was so terrible. And then when I beat a trap tricks player, I was like, yes, I am a god. I'm your lord and savior. I'm the world's best hero player in the world. And then I immediately play against an Eldritch player, set 5, and I instantly lose. But you can't, and it's hard because you can't just like put in, like if your deck doesn't have innate like back row removal, it's hard to like justify putting in like 3 cosmic. And,
Because then you're going to go up.
You're going to go against like some like combo deck that doesn't set anything, and it's like, oh, what do these cosmic and feather duster do now? And it sucks. It's the same thing with like playing Raigeki and stuff, but
it's the problem with best of ones.
Yeah, like I get it. I get like, and to me, best of ones are pretty fun because I play like going second heroes, and I just like I let my opponent play for like 5 minutes, and I just get to play for like 2 minutes and then win, or lose. But playing any other deck, like I played Dinos in it, and it's like, oh man, feels like a slog. Also, I'm not a fan of like, I like the animations, but I just wish they just like went way faster.
Isn't there a way to speed them up? I don't remember.
There's a way to like speed them up, but it also looks really boring. I just wish there was like, I don't know. I didn't have to see every single card I play slam down.
I like the extra thinking time.
I do. True. Sometimes
they'd be playing the animations and stuff. I'm like, these few seconds will make all the difference.
Yeah. And I kind of like the chess clock kind of idea where it's like I have my own time, but you also have your like own time, but we don't share like a consecutive clock, so I don't have to work with you to like make sure we get 3 games in.
It solves one of the problems,
like,
which is just like the people comboing for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it also puts a little bit of a hamper on your time to think.
Yeah. It's just like, it kind of sucks because it's like, especially when I play like actual locals, I usually never have to worry about time when I'm playing heroes because it's either I know the hero combo enough where it's like I can just like speed run it. Yeah. They have nothing, and then going second, it's like pretty simple. Or it's like if I have the out, I break your board, and then I don't have to think about setting up a board that you can't play against. So I'm just gonna either win or lose here.
Yeah.
But like playing Virtual World and like Dinos and stuff against like the time, I've always gone into time with them. It's just like there's so much. Kind of.
I think what was it, the EGC or something? There was some Yu-Gi-Oh event that was not Konami.
Yeah.
Where they randomized time.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it was like its minimum amount of is this, and then they like roll dice to see exactly how long it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And no one knows. They don't have it displayed or anything.
Yeah.
To kind of hurt people who want to play into time. I like that idea.
I think that idea is cool. And I know there's just like everyone talks about time rules being bad. And then it's like the whole thing where it's like Masquerade, where it's like people were intentionally just didn't do anything against Masquerade, but then like the branded player was in all power because he could be like, this guy's slow playing, or this guy's doing this, or this guy's doing that, and it's like that. Like the time rules are inherently kind of broken a little bit, where it's like if you set up a Masquerade, you're the one gonna win, even if your opponent like tries to play around the time rules of like just not doing anything. Like you can still call them out and like get a win. It kind of sucks. But I like the chess clock idea. I wish more games did that.
It's too hard to do in person though.
Yeah, I think it's really hard because it's like you can have max games of like this amount, and then everyone has to wait for that one person who's just like has that long time. But I mean, it's whatever.
Well, the chess clock idea, the problem with it and like doing it in paper, for instance, is like you have to hit it after every action you do.
Oh, and then just like give it back.
So varied.
Yeah.
It's like your opponent. What are they going to do? Say, oh, I don't have a hand trap. But then it's like, no, if we're actually taking it seriously with the chess clock, you have to hit it every time.
Yeah.
So your opponent, even if they don't want to pay attention because they don't have an interaction, they have to, like, keep hitting it back to you all the time. And also, of course, it also is just good luck regulating that. The people are going to think, oh, I'm not doing anything they can interact with.
Yeah.
And then they happen to have the card, and now you have a dispute about time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's weird, because like, there's like a weird like meta game to like Master Duel where it's like you could like have them skip, like I know people do this a lot when they have nib. They like skip everything until it gets to the one point where it's like I have nib and this is like the most optimal point to nib, but you just never knew. That's like it's whatever.
It works, but only if they're not paying a ton of attention. Because even if you turn your toggle off, it flicks back for a sec.
Yeah.
But if you aren't paying enough attention,
where you just might think,
you won't notice the little flicks back and forth.
Yeah.
Or you'll think it's something else. It's always funny. That's one of the things about Master Duel is if you have like a Veiler and a nib.
Yeah.
I can't remember what deck it was I played. Crap, what was it? No memory. Well, I remember in Duel Links, I played Thunder Dragon for a while, and you would be able to mask stuff by having the dark in your hand.
Oh,
since dark is a quick effect.
Yeah, so you
would not activate dark, but they'd keep getting a delay, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's dark."
Yeah.
And then you actually had something. Or if you have a trap card, it's like they can't tell if it's like a torrential or something because you get an interaction window every single time.
Yeah, and that's like I think that's cool. It's like kind of annoying sometimes, but I think that's really cool where it's like you kind of fake out your opponent, and it's a lot harder to do in real life because I'll say
in real life it's a little weirder.
Yeah, I played against people like some good players. Like one of my friends, whenever I play against him, he'll genuinely just like not watch me play. He'll be like, "That's good, that's good." And then once I get to the stroke point, he'll look at it and he'll just go, "Here's this." I'm like, "Bro, you didn't have to you didn't pretend to have anything and play around it." A lot of people have nib, so I always prepare for the worst. I always assume they have nib. So I'm just like, if you have nib, you got nib. And
when you're playing in paper, it is definitely a game within the game. Is this being able to fake out people effectively?
Yeah, it's weird.
To me, though, I don't really like that per se. I understand that it's like that it's just part of winning.
It's part of winning.
But for me, it's like I don't really want to be like
kind of cheated.
It's not cheating, but it feels like really really soft cheating.
Yeah.
And for someone like me who is really I don't know what the correct term is, but fairness oriented.
Yeah.
It feels weird for a game where that's the play.
It's
I don't know, getting advantages by being rude, something that for instance, there's certain things like there's a line where you're not rule sharking.
Yeah.
But you're just enough to put the person on edge the whole time. That is like really common at real events for competitive players to do because it really works. At really wigging people out and getting them to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, I would hate to do that because you're kind of like ruining that person's experience.
Yeah, and I at the college's locals, sometimes we bring in people who are actually like good, and they'll do that, and I understand why they do that. Like one player will literally just he'll say effects and not say like anything else, right? Like, and I can understand that, and then I guess it's my fault for not asking. But like even continuous effects where it's like this monster gains attack, but until the end of the next turn, he expects you to just kind of know that. And I've done that where it's like I just swung into it. It's like, oh, it's only 15. Oh, here, Stratos, here I come. And then he just like it dies. I'm like, what? I'm like,
yeah, they give you the very, very minimum amount of information that they have to.
Yeah, they have to, and it's like, I mean, I get it, but it's like, bro, you're at a college, bro. It's like you're fighting for a single box of like, I don't know, dimension forces, and then like those players, like I understand why they do it because Yu-Gi-Oh like is a really competitive game, and you can like make it super competitive where it's like that kind of mind game kind of, but I feel like at some point you kind of just gotta let go a little bit, like.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like poker, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you take poker and you're going and playing and you're like betting like a yacht on it,
yeah,
you can go really, really serious.
Yeah, but it's like.
But you wouldn't expect when you're betting like $5 for
like,
someone to do that.
Yeah.
And it feels like sometimes the magnitude of it for Yu-Gi-Oh players is like that. It's like they're playing for a yacht the whole time.
Yeah.
And the rest of us are like, bro, it's a child's card game.
Yeah, and it's so weird because I think it's like I get it. They're like super competitive.
I agree. I fully understand. Like they're practicing.
Yeah, they're just like they're like play testing. They want the full experience, but it's like at some point it's like we're not. I'll say most of the people that have been on the podcast that I know of, besides like one other person, they're not. We're not. I'm gonna be honest. We're not ready to go out of regionals, right?
We all use the word semi-competitive.
Like we play like competitive decks, but we're not like.
Do you play competitive deck?
I play the best competitive deck.
Heroes!
Let's go!
Most competitive deck.
But we play like more we play more casually.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks when we're doing kind of like more friendly tournaments to have someone. And I've talked to the person who organizes the tournaments before. It's super discouraging if you come in with like I've seen people come in with like 3 branded like structure decks, right? And they added like a $5 upgrade to it with extra stuff, and they just get like kind of whacks against like kind of someone who's like tone deaf to like the surrounding area where it's like, oh, I'm a new player, so kind of go easy. They'll like ask a ton of questions, but it's like, man, if you absolutely just whack someone, it must feel terrible. Like especially doing like even at some point like locals are like they're nicer than that.
I remember in my locals. Like, we'd have people, there was one guy who came in with Satellar Knight during toss format, and it's like, he has not played in a while.
Yeah,
and so I'm, like, going through it, and I'm, like, explaining to him, this is what all my cards do, these are the choke points if you have something, because I know, here's the thing is, I know I'm going to win.
Yeah, it's like,
even
that's
if I tell him,
yeah, like,
this is the choke point of the deck, even if I tell him all this stuff, I'm not going to lose. Yeah. To this guy who hasn't played the game in a while and is playing Stellar, but I can do what I can to make him have a better experience.
Yeah, and that's like that's the whole like that's what I want for like newer players is to have a good experience. Like even if you get whacked, you can get whacked like gracefully and thought you did something.
Yeah.
When actually you might have done nothing, but it's like that feels better than just playing against a like hard controlled like robot that just like it's only there just to get a prize at the end, and it sucks.
Yeah, it feels bad when it feels like the only thing that person's playing for is to win, whereas you're here trying to have an experience.
Yeah,
and maybe you'll win. I know. As we're talking, we're probably alienating our more competitive audience. None of you who are listening at this moment.
Yeah, true, but like,
but I don't know. It's very
there's a time and place to when you can be competitive. I feel like locals, I can get it. Like, there's something at least on the line. Like, you paid entry, like, you're trying to, like, practice for whatever regionals, but once you start stepping down from that, like, playing friendly matches, like, going to more casual tournaments, it's like, you don't need to fucking play sprites, bro. You can play, like, if you're a good enough player, you can play, like, whatever fucking deck you want, like, wax everyone. But honestly, like, if you're, like, a good enough player, you'll probably just wax everyone there.
I feel like pet decks are definitely something that more people should have.
Yeah, it's like more fun decks to play.
Because I have mine, which is Magic Spectre. And I've talked about long before. I love Magic Spectres. They are not very good. I mean, I play against them we've played before.
Yeah, I think the first time I played against them, I didn't know what any of them did. I got fucking waxed. I was like, what? I was like, what the hell do other these cards do? And then
you're like, it banishes. I'm like, yeah, it banishes. Like, oh, okay. And then you do something, and you're like, I flip like, strike, and you're like, wait, that card's also strike, and I'm like, yeah, this card is strike. And you're like, what?
I'm like, what are these cards? I don't understand. And that to me is interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, but yeah, again, there's a time and place to be competitive, and there's a time and place like you gotta win, right? Yeah. It's like it's whatever, and it sucks because at least the tournaments I go to, we don't have enough players to make it fully like self-sustaining. In the grand scheme of things, like when we do those, like the locals, we don't have enough players, so we bring in.
Yeah, people have to come in.
People have to come in
that aren't usually part of the group, yeah.
And it feels rigged. Like honestly, it feels rigged because it's either top 4 is always like this. It's those 2 or 3 players are always first, second, third, right? 100%, no matter what, because they wax every single player, and the only players they're afraid against are the players that they came with. And then there's one Mystic Mine player who always tops. Because it's Mystic Mine Burn. Uh-huh. And Mystic Mine isn't banned. Fuck that card. Like I hate the card so much. I love the dude. He's super nice. He's a chill dude. He's kind of a troll sometimes, but man. Oh, it's so painful. It's so bad. And then, like, occasionally, if it's not him, it's one of the UTA people. I'm always top 4.
I think the weirdest part of it is just like I really do feel like I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, but I feel like I really get it because I realize we're just playing 2 different games.
Yeah,
I am here to play Yu-Gi-Oh, the casual fun game with my friends.
Yeah.
And they are there to, in their mind, go to Worlds or go to Nats or something. Yeah. And it's like that is just not even on the table for me. And I'm like, we are not playing the same game.
Yeah, it's like I play games where like I can get like competitive, where I get to that point where it's like I'm trying to be like them, you know, it's like I'm trying to hold information or whatever, and it's like soft cheating. But it's like there's a time and place for that. Like I tried doing that at locals, and I was like, this is too much brain work. And then I played against a Warrock guy, and I was like, all right, this fucking it doesn't even matter anymore. Uh-huh. But I think going to regionals and stuff, it makes sense, right? Like you're trying to get your invite. I don't know what you win at regionals. You get an invite, right? Like if you top, I don't know, but it makes sense. And like it's whatever. But I played like other card games. Like I played Magic before, and Magic to me is like that's one of the more competitive games I played. But inherently itself, like all the since it has like rotating a rotating format.
Yeah.
Sure, there are like the gimmick decks, but those gimmick decks aren't really popular, right? Like most of the meta decks are like decks you can just buy. So it's like everyone's playing at like starting a competitive level. So it's not like there's no imbalance where it's like in Yu-Gi-Oh it's like some person could be playing like $900 sprites and the other person could be playing like $3 blue eyes.
Yeah.
And they could get paired at like a locals, right? And it's all about the players depend on how like that match goes. But at least in Magic it feels a lot nicer because like the distance between super competitive decks and like kind of your like tier 3 decks, it's like very short. It's like you spend like an extra $30 to get some extra cards. But
Yu-Gi-Oh has kind of gone around a lot though. It's not very consistent.
Yeah,
there have been times like during when neither of us were playing, when Dad came out.
Oh my god!
Like, we're not playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh unless you spent $900 buying 3 Dad or whatever.
Yeah.
But there have also been times like during TOS format, it's like legitimately, you could spend $30 on one structure deck, $30 on another structure deck.
Yeah.
And then $10 on some random
whatever,
staples,
and then
you have unironically a tier 1 deck.
Yeah, and it's
like you literally don't need anything other than that.
It's crazy. I kind of wish like, and it's kind of like the barrier of entry is getting lower and lower, which I'm huge fan of, because I think when people try to get into Yu-Gi-Oh, especially before like almost all these reprints that have been coming out, it's like impossible. Mm-hmm. It's like I want to play the most competitive deck, and it's like, okay, well, I played for a lot longer than you, and I have like, here comes three hand traps, and it's like you're playing like a basic ass rogue deck, right? But now that's like droplets got reprinted like a couple times, right? Even then, like some people still complain that droplets like still too expensive. It's like 30, I think more now. It's like 30, 40, 50, 60.
Oh.
But like Ash is like, it's like $5.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
After all this time.
And then nibs, like I remember nibs were like 30, and like it's crazy. They're like cents now. It's a bulk card. That's crazy, and it's really nice to see. Like even Prosperity got reprinted, but that card is still turbo expensive.
I think for me, it's like, okay, staples. Right now, we're in a weird place where staples are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But what I think is really important is that a top strategy, one of them, maybe even if it's objectively the worst of them,
yeah,
a top strategy needs to be budget affordable.
Yeah, like,
right? And I think they've actually done a pretty good job of that.
They did a really good, yeah. Tiers is half their cards are like they're just super rares.
Well, tiers, it's like, but if we just look at the top cut right now,
yeah,
we've got, well, so let's like move back during toss format and all that. Salad was the obvious budget deck, and it was genuinely cheap.
Yeah,
and then you move forward. And it's like today, it's like you can play like legitimately worthy of bringing to a regional Flunder.
Yeah.
For like $20. If you're willing to spend $50, then it's like legitimately like just as good.
Yeah.
You don't have Prosperity, but it's like you can play Extravagance. It's almost the same thing.
So wild. Yeah, it's great. Like, and that's what's really good now. It's like there's like actual competent like tier 3, at least tier 2, like teetering on tier 2, like less rogue. I'll say like Hero's still rogue. Like we finally hit like tier 3 maybe. But there's like other decks you can buy for like super cheap. Like you see the Rainbow Dragon deck that topped?
What, it did?
It topped. Yes, what? It topped. It like I don't know if it was like super high up, but it was like top 16 at a regionals. And it's like,
was it like Conclave Control, or was it? Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, it's like,
how did they do that? That's great.
I have no idea. I guess D-Shift is like the best card in the game, but
yeah, D-Shifter is a pretty good card.
But yeah, it's like there's so many decks today, which is really good that you can like play competitively, and then you can still do pretty good. And I hate when I tell people it's like Flunder's a good deck because I hate playing against Flunder.
Yeah.
But it's like genuinely like it's just a really good deck.
I hate playing against Flunder, but boy, would I recommend it.
Yeah, I recommend it to like every single person. Like even like, it's really good. And like branded super cheap now. I remember branded got pretty up there.
I mean, how much is Aluber the Boober of Duper now?
It's like cents.
Is it
cents?
Wow.
Yeah, he's like I think at most like $5. But that's like compared to like everything else, which is like commons and stuff. But Aluber was like the most expensive part.
Yeah, right now, it feels like if you're willing to be a little patient.
Yeah.
You can get a tier 2 or 3 deck that's really cheap.
Yeah, it's really, and it's like playable. And it's great.
Personally, my price range almost always has been like $100.
Yeah.
It has to be less than $100 for me to buy the deck, and it needs to be competitive.
Yeah.
And for me, and of course, as time goes on, more and more decks fall under that umbrella because I own more and more staples.
Yeah.
Right? Shout out to anyone who's getting started. That's how it works. But if you don't know,
if you
never
cap
yourself,
that's like the best way to get.
You get more as time goes on. You just accumulate staples.
Yeah,
and then suddenly that deck that looked like it cost thousands of dollars to you, it only costs $100 because you already have everything.
Yeah,
but for me, I was like, I looked at tiers, and I only spent $100.
Yeah, it's like
now $100 is understandably that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for like newcomers to like drop on a card game they probably haven't played against a real person before with. But it's like,
but as far as playing fairly competitively, that's pretty good.
It's extremely good. That's insane. Like tiers are like arguably the better of the two like top two decks. Yeah. And it's like you don't even need the field spell. And that's like, and I guess that's what Kawanami thought was like the biggest part about tiers, but it's like honestly don't.
Well, I hope that it was their intention.
Yeah, it was their intention.
To make the only not essential card to be the most expensive one.
Yeah.
I hope that was their idea because they knew that like the competitive players were going to buy it.
Yeah, right.
Like the really competitive people are going to buy all of the cards.
Yeah.
So if you just make the one that is removable the most expensive one, they're still going to buy it.
Yeah, and it's like It's wild. It's really good. And I wish like I look-key wish Sprites was like that because I was interested in Sprites, but
I wonder if it is because what is the most expensive card for them? Elf.
it's blue.
Oh,
Blue is
yeah.
it's like it's the Mo Yi of Sprites. It's like how, and I wanted to get into like I want to play more competitive decks. Like I love being known as the hero guy and the best hero player. And if you need any hero tips, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
But I genuinely want to play like a more competitive deck. Like I thought about getting to Sky Strikers. I was like, oh, they look so cool. They have like the mecha robots and the girls, and it's like, oh my god. And then I saw their playstyle. I'm like, oh my god.
I played Sky Striker for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not for me. And I played against so many Sky Striker players where I know what's gonna happen. It's like, oh, they go Shizuku. And it's like, oh my god, you add back. Oh my god, Setsu. Ah!
Yeah,
but
there are definitely games with Sky Striker that feel pretty cookie cutter.
Yeah,
but no, it's all about those back and forth.
Yeah, the back and like I remember more of the back and forth games between like, especially playing heroes like. The ones where because I can OTK, I OTK like every day of the week, basically.
Yeah.
So I remember the games where I like grinded it out. So it's really good.
What I really liked about Sky Striker, and the more people I told this, the more people were like, what? What I really liked about Sky Striker is every time I came out of the game, and I don't play Sky Striker when this isn't true, because this is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Is that every time when I come out of the game, win or lost, I know I could have won.
Yeah,
and that's like a pretty crazy thing about Sky Striker.
Yeah, and that's
or
one of the that's one of the better like feelings when you're done with a game. It's like I know I lost, but I could have won. Like
there's no hopelessness to it.
Yeah,
it's like when you're playing a deck like that has so many decision points, you can kind of walk back and figure out where you made the mistake.
Yeah, and that's really good. And it's like. Heroes has that too, but sometimes you draw hands where it's like, of course it's like in any game, but like those games where you come out, it's like I fucked up, or it's like I could have done this, or it's like you figure out a line later on. It's like, oh, I could have literally just done this and that. It's like, oh my god.
It's this like weird middle ground where if there's too many decision points, like a combo-y deck, sometimes it's like I was never going to be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Where Sky Striker, I feel like again for my mental capacity. It's just the right amount of complex, where it's like, I should have been able to puzzle my way out of almost every situation. Yeah. And then when I didn't, it's a learning moment.
Yeah, and then you'll know.
I could have done that better, which I think is the reason why so many competitive players really, really like Sky Striker.
Yeah. And
even when it was well past its prime.
That's true. And that's why I want to get into Sword Soul. Like, even though I harp on every Soul Sword player just being, like, Monkey Brain, and on Chi Xiao Baron, Blackout, oh my god, the best end board possible. Yeah. I think the going second aspect of it, using the Tenyis to try to play around stuff is super interesting.
Yeah. Tenyi cards are really cool, just in general.
Yeah, they're so sick. And so that's definitely, now that they're getting a lot cheaper, Moyi is still cheap, and it's out of the meta. No one's really playing Sword Soul.
Every now and again, though.
Every now and again.
Guy playing Sword Soul top or something.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So it's definitely a deck I want to pick up, but I still love Heroes. Heroes are the best deck ever. I love Heroes.
Again, I feel like just more people need to realize, like, you don't have, just because the meta shit, you don't have to drop the deck you love. You can just still play it.
You can still play it.
Just wait until, this happens so often, especially if you are a good member of the Yu-Gi-Oh community and trying to get people to play the game.
Yeah.
As we all know, Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not dying, but it's really hard for people to get into it.
Yeah.
So anytime you meet anyone who's remotely interested,
yeah,
you have to be the ambassador to get them on board.
Yeah.
And having a less powerful deck to play with him with is such a godsend.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's so nice to just have like that second deck where it's like, because I know a lot of people come from Magic and stuff where they played other card games and they're looking at Yu-Gi-Oh from an outsider's perspective. If you look at, like, I see a lot on Twitter, like, Yu-Gi boomers are like, I hate today's Yu-Gi-Oh, it's so complicated. They look at one Dragon Link video and they're like, what the fuck is going on? It's like he summons like 30 times and he's like does all this, but like in actuality, like, when you take a step back from it all and not look at Dragon Link, it's like, it's not that hard. Like, like genuinely, it's like, it's not, it's really fast compared to like Digimon Magic, where it's like, there's more back and forth, like, quote unquote, and it's like slower, but
a lot more happens in each turn.
And yeah, a ton more happens in each turn, and that's what like scares people, I guess. And it's understandable, but because like to those people, like price doesn't matter because they're already cardboard addicts where they spent tons of money on cards. But it's like looking at it from an outsider's perspective, it's like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, I know like dual monsters, you can summon once, you can like tribute to summon, you can attack, you can do this, but then when in actuality, it's like, I feel like it's just as like, it feels as complex as one of those games. But I think my problem with it is like, from playing other card games, there's a lot more moments where you felt like, I can't do anything, right? And it's not even like you built your deck wrong. You kind of just draw bad. You either one, draw bad, but that happens in every game. But two, it's like your opponent just makes a fucking huge ass board where it's like the cards in my hand, even though they're playable, won't get me to a win. That's kind of why I like Magic and like kind of I'm playing a lot more Digimon now, a little bit more because at least there, I have a feeling of a back and forth, right? Like I don't die just like if I have nothing, I just die, right? Like and you just scoop at that point, right? It feels like I have a play, or it's like I can hold out just a little bit longer to draw something and to like play.
Yeah, I don't play any other card games.
Yeah.
Except the Adventure Time card game, which I don't play anymore, but I did. But I have been talking. A lot of people that I have brought on do play more card games.
Yeah.
I've been talking to a lot of them, and something I've heard a lot that the more I talk about these other card games, I think is probably true. It's one of the things that makes Yu-Gi-Oh the most unique. Well, there are two really big ones. The first one is that Yu-Gi-Oh, it feels like you're doing something crazy.
Yeah, it genuinely feels like you're an anime protagonist. It's like, because the moments to like hypeness, compared to other games, like Magic is good at those moments because it's like kind of like you get the aha moment and then you get that cool pop up turn. Or in Digimon, it's like I have this one turn, and it's like I gotta find a way to break your board. But at least in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like that moment to like hypeness happens a lot. So it's like you could like be on your first turn and you see like you have a dead hand, right? But then you see a line, and that aha moment comes like it comes way faster.
In Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like every time you OTK, you feel like a god.
Yeah, you feel like a beast. Especially if you want that feeling, play Heroes. I play Heroes because once you play through I played through a full like Drytron board and Master Duel, just with like 6 cards in my hand, and I felt like a god. I saved that replay every time before I go to a locals. I actually watched that video. I actually watched the replay, and I look like I masterfully weaved across this terrible Drytron player who ashed way too early. But you feel like a god, and it feels really good, especially if you just barely make it. It's like, oh my god, it feels so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
And then the second thing about you is just the extra deck.
Yeah.
Just having this toolbox that you always have access to, and that it feels like I watch Magic or something, or a lot of these other ones. One weird thing already is that a lot of them, the deck size is way bigger.
Yeah, they're super huge. It's like 60 cards is like the norm.
The odds that you will see the card you are looking for is so much lower.
Yeah, that's like
you have to work. Whereas with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like if you're playing Sky Striker, you will see Ray every single game.
Yeah, you like it's glued to your hand. It's like, and that's like sometimes my problem with those like bigger like deck sizes. Like I play Digimon. There's like one floodgate card that like beats my opponent, but it's like there's like all 4 of my copies are like at the bottom of a 60 card deck, and I don't search at all. Like in Magic, searching is like a kind of a niche, and it's super rare where it's like you'll be able to search the card you need.
Yeah. So
it's super nice to just have like if Yu-Gi-Oh feels like more versatile. It kind of feels like problem solving more than just kind of I'm playing a chess game against my opponent. If that makes sense, because how I look at Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like turn 1, you make a board, your opponent either 1 can't break or your 2 can't play, right? And then if you're the second player, you have to find a way to break that board, and it's kind of like a puzzle game from there. Unlike in like Magic, where it's like I play a land, pass. I play a land, pass, and it's like it feels interesting when you get to the later parts of those games where it's like where you have those tools to like really like critically think about like, should I go for game here or should I hold out like a little bit longer?
It kind of feels like for those more drawn out card games,
Yeah.
it's less about individual moments.
Yeah.
It's more about building momentum.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like the plan I'm building up over the course of these turns.
Yeah.
And obviously there are moments that are eureka moments or whatever. Whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's always eureka
Yeah,
moments.
it's
always. I have the cards that I have in my hand right now. This is all I got to get through this board. Everything's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's like maybe if you're in a control mirror, it gets like that. But most of the time, at least one of the people is playing.
Yeah, one of those
some sort of combo.
Yeah,
deck.
exactly. And it's like,
so it's like you have to address the problem now.
yeah, or else like you just lose, right? It's like,
you know what you're gonna know, and there might be some things to figure out, like what exactly is the back row that I'm gonna have to push through.
Exactly. Yeah,
you're gonna figure out this turn.
That's why I love going second heroes, and it's why like it's something I always advocate if you're playing heroes, because it's so much fun. Like the problem, it's like literally just solving like a math problem. Like you see everything, like you see every number. Like sometimes you see like a mystery number, like the back row or whatever, like hand traps, like something you don't see. But like once you see everything on the board, it's like I gotta be aware of like this, and then once you play through it, it's like, oh my god, orgasmic.
You're crossing this stuff out as
yeah,
you're going. Yeah, you're like, okay, doing this, blah, blah, blah.
I gotta play around this, yeah.
Okay, he used it. Bam, okay, that's done. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, blah, blah. And, okay, here's the moment. Oh, he didn't use it? Okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's super strange. I gotta, now, yeah, especially when they don't do something, like, that you expected, then it's like, oh, it's like when you kill, like, a horror movie monster, and then, like, stand back up, and you're like, I didn't expect that.
One of the most stressful things is just when you have a back card that they just don't activate.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not a bluff, is it? And the whole time you're just like, is that a bluff? And then it's like, finally you Nightmare Phoenix it or something, and you're like, oh, okay, just never met its activation condition or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't, it can be that's one of the things.
Yeah.
That can be very stressful, because it's like, why, especially nowadays when bluffs are not really a thing.
Yeah, not really, but because most of the time people add trap cards, and it's like, except the one trap card, it's like, what the fuck could that be? Oh no, it's blackout.
Blackout, Salek, who'd have thought?
Yeah, who knows? But then when they said 2, it's like, oh
you're
god,
like, what is that?
What's the other one? It's horrifying.
You're like, is that the super poly? Or is that the, what could that be? Did there a second?
Yeah, dude.
Something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. That's it's like the scariest thing ever. Like, I'm fine if they make a full board and one back row. I'm not fine if they make like a half board and then 2 back row. Like, I'd rather just know what I'm looking against. It's horrifying. I also hate Super Poly, but I also love the card so much.
I think it's kind of interesting. I feel like I like Super Poly more when it was a little bit more relegated to specific decks.
Yeah.
Like when Invoked should all hero were the only people who could play Super Poly.
Yeah, like genuinely, yeah.
Because you have to summon your extra deck monsters with it.
Yeah, it sucks because it's like, I love running Super Poly because it's just such a good card in Heroes. Because it's like, it's both like a way to OTK, because you can like Super Poly your monsters off into like whatever hero monster, but it's also like a way to stop your opponent. But I hate that everyone else is using it. Like Tears especially.
Well, it makes sense in Tears.
It makes sense in Tears because they're fusions, but at least in the other decks, it kind of feels better because it's like I'm fusing my monster and your monster for a hero. Yes, instead of I'm fusing your monster and your monster for a mud dragon that, you know.
Rather than Garura being printed, I would have preferred a tier that like lets you use your opponent's monster.
Yeah, where
I feel like that would have been more interesting.
That would have been way more interesting. And it kind of like,
also, then you at least have to commit to the board.
Yeah, exactly.
They have some way to play around Super Poly, maybe.
Yeah, and that's why I liked when Mud Dragon was still just like the kind of the only, like either Mud Dragon and Starving Venom were like the kind of the only ones. Because it's like if I knew my opponent was,
you could peeler your inboard a little bit.
Yeah, I can play around it, or I like try to go into a line where it's like I pop the back row first, right?
Yeah.
But at least in Tears, it's like kind of sucks because like
Tears, they're like one of the funniest things about when you're playing Tears.
Yeah.
Is like you're building your deck and you're like, oh, putting all these Super Poly targets.
Yeah.
And then you're doing your combo and you're like, oh, these aren't Super Poly cards. These are just great cards.
These are just good cards to go off of. And it's like, what the? It's so wild.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes Tears cool in a way. Like I hate how they use Super Poly, but I love how they can use Super Poly targets in like interesting ways where it's like I need to make a Mud Dragon, or it's like, I need to make a Dragon Sepelia. Just for myself.
Like, I make the Drago Sepelia just as the like he's just good in the game.
Yeah.
And then I make the Garura as just like a card to go through the Curious line, and I get a draw.
It's like,
and then it's like, oh, make the Mud Dragon to make the Redoer.
Yeah, it's like, my god.
Who? Super Poly who? Huh?
Yeah, it's like, that's super interesting. Because it's like, it's cool in tiers. And like, I think it's super interesting that you can like play Super Poly as like, you can play the materials as like ways to stop your opponent, but also as a way to like benefit you. But I kind of hate how tiers is so good. So it's just like,
yeah, they're just too strong.
It's too strong, and it feels.
I'm kind of curious what the play is. I don't really know. I don't think Super Poly is the hit right now. I don't think that's the problem.
It's not. It's definitely not the hit, but I kind of wish it went down to like 2.
To be honest, one of my least favorite things about this format, people talk a lot about whether or not they prefer formats that are open or closed, right?
Yeah, where it's like, I know what you mean. Because I know, some people on Twitter were talking about that. It's like, they prefer like a format where it's like they know what they're going against, kind of, and then instead of like, kind of like the free-for-all, like, any deck is kind of crazy.
And to me, it's like, I remember during, what was that? The one format that had Pendulum in it and a bunch of other stuff, it was really open. It was like, it really felt like you could play anything.
Yeah.
I like those formats. I also like really closed formats where it's like Dragon Ruler. It's like there is a known quantity of decks, and you're pretty sure you know what the builds are going to look like too.
Yeah. And
it's like you can really, really get into the minutia of exactly how to play around. It's like, oh, you see the second copy of this card from your opponent, you know that they're probably not playing a third. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
The problem is, this is a format that feels like it should be closed.
It's closed, but
it's actually open.
It's really open.
Because there's a bajillion variants of both decks.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I wish kind of like Sprite and Tier were like more kind of locked you into whatever archetype they're in. Because I understand why they're so open. It's kind of like, it helps competitive players, I guess, like,
to be honest,
be creative.
Both of those Tiers and Sprite could have had way more restrictions and would have been obviously not just as good, but would have still been Tier 1, still completely dominated the meta. They could have had way more restrictions on them, and they still would have been the undisputed best decks of the format.
Yeah.
But by making them this, like, splashable and stuff,
it's
like, there's just a bajillion variants.
Yeah. It sucks so much. And that's like when Verte was alive, and then DP was like $100 card. I hated it, because I was like, you guys should not be able to play heroes. Like, heroes are my thing, and I should not be seeing heroes in, like, fucking Drytron with popping sight. It doesn't make sense to me, right? Like, it's like, ugh.
I'm a little conflicted about it. I think Verte obviously needs to go.
Thank God.
But having engines that, like, anyone can play,
yeah,
I'm not necessarily opposed to that.
I'm not against it, but I feel like something like the adventure package makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's kind of condensed, but you play a lot of it, so it's like, you kind of have to like play into it.
Quite a bit of deck space. The restriction actually matters.
Yeah, but like,
not everyone can play adventure cards.
Yeah, exactly. It's open to a good amount of decks, but not so open that everyone's fucking playing it, right? That's the problem with Verte. That Verte was like,
everyone can play
literally anyone can make a link to with 2 different materials, right? Like
Sky Striker could play Verte, and they did religiously.
What? Like, I don't understand how Sky Striker could like make that, and it's really dumb. But
yes.
I'm glad it's banned, and I guess we're kind of hypocrites, because like Sprite is kind of like that, where it's like they're limited to like level 2s. Not everyone can play.
They're not actually limited.
You know, like quote unquote limited.
Bro, you know what Tiers are doing right now?
They're playing
what?
They're playing like Dangers.
You know, one of the most common variants of Tier is Tier Sprite, where what you link off the Murley and anything else, because Elf just says including.
You just like
and so you link it and the Murley for the Elf. Elf bring back the Murley, and then what do? Put the 2 on top for Gigantic, because Gigantic you can use link 2 monsters.
Oh my.
And then you use the Gigantic to summon Jet, add Smashers.
Yeah.
And then you link the 2 off for another Elf. And now that elf can bring back the Merly on the opponent's turn to mill 3.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because it's too generic. It's like, the elf is just, it's like you literally just, if you play any level 2 monster in your deck at all,
you can play
through a whole line.
That's so crazy. I guess that makes sense because Tri-Brigade Sprite is also a thing. Because Nervals too.
If your engine just has a level 2 in it,
you can play. Oh my god.
Then you can play Sprite.
All right, I lied. Forget what I said. Fuck sprites. Fuck sprites. Fuck tier limits. Play anything else, you're based.
If you play literally anything else. 2 monsters, including a ranked level 2 monster. The other monster doesn't even have to be.
All right, this format sucks.
A level 2 plus literally anything else. Why? Why, Elf? You did not need to say that.
Wow.
What did they?
I don't know what they're. But you know what? Konami does that. But you know what? Sometimes they praise us with Fusion Destiny to 30. Thank the Lord.
But you know what I do like about Sprite?
What?
Sprite Blue is just electricity wearing like the
Supreme you're wearing
jacket.
Just a jacket. Yeah, it's so weird. Like
they're so fashionable.
Yeah.
Also, what is Elf? Is he like the International Space Station? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I thought Elf was a girl. Kind of makes sense. I guess it could be either one.
I have no idea.
But it's weird because I was looking, for research purposes, I was looking at Gemini, and Gemini has boobies. Like the pink one.
What? Gemini? What do you mean Gemini?
Or Sprite Pink or whatever the pink one is.
Oh, like Carrot?
Oh, Carrot? Is that her name? Fuck, I fucking don't know.
Carrot's the spell trap negate.
Well, she has boobies.
She's a woman.
Yeah, but Elf doesn't have. I thought Elf was a girl, but Elf doesn't have boobies.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I think Carrot is probably wearing the most clothes now I think about it.
Yeah, compared to.
Well, I don't know. Red.
I hate the orange one. Oh my god, I hate the orange one.
Sprite Red. I don't know. You can kind of see his underside is like there's stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
But whereas Blue, it's like he's got that open jacket.
Look at the card art for Jet. I always see Jet, and I think I know what it looks like, but it's some dude doing like a cool like slide.
Or something?
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm just not dumb.
His legs are like more solid than Blue's is. Yeah. Now that I'm looking at it, like look at that. Like you can, it's like a tube with electricity in it.
Yeah.
But then if we look at Blue, it's like
you just gotta like look.
Doobie electricity.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. Anyway.
That's interesting. Anyways, fuck sprites. Oh god. Not here.
Yeah. Sprites can die.
Sprites can die. Let's go back to let's hit some good points. So sprites can die. Tier limits can die. Heroes are the best deck of any format ever.
Let's just. I have this ban Gigantic.
Yes.
And Elf.
Yeah. Just get rid of the deck. Just get rid of the deck.
People might still play Sprite cards. Because they're crazy.
Yeah, they're
even
really
if we
good.
banned those two, people are still going to play Blue Jet Smashers.
Yeah.
Because already.
That's already good enough.
Already good.
That's already good enough.
And then like for tiers, I really don't know what you hit. If you hit any of the names.
I feel like if you hit most of the names to like 2 or like I guess if
I
you're
don't know that.
Well, if you're crazy, you put them down to 1. You don't ban them. I feel like
I wouldn't want to ban. At the moment, maybe putting Kit Kalos to run that might matter. I don't know.
Kit Kalos to 1. Kit Kalos to 1 would be really annoying. But I'll say if you put all the tier limit names to 1, that'd be really funny because then it's at Emancipators, and you just gotta pray that you get something good. That's why.
Then the mills would actually be like you genuinely don't know if you're gonna hit anything.
Yeah. I think
that's kind of interesting.
I think that's cool, but
I don't know.
I just hate how. I didn't even realize how many tier limit names there are. There's like 5. There's like 4, right? Or how many? There's like
the actual main deck monsters.
Yeah.
So we have Reinhardt, which isn't quite the same.
Reinhardt isn't the same.
But then we have Merly, Heaviness, and the
Shiren or whatever.
Yeah, Shiren.
Yeah.
So you can only resolve like the actual tier fusion summons. You only get 3 of them.
You only get 3 of them, but you can also like. Don't they have like normal summon effects? They don't, right?
So
I think
Heaviness, it's if your opponent activates the monster effect, she summons herself from the hand.
Stupid. That's so fucking dumb. That's the one. I hate that one so much. It is so stupid that like, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get ready to combo. Here's Stratos. It's like Heaviness. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like I deal with Winda turn 1. And it's like I can't.
It's when they Winda Doobie. I think Winda is probably time. Probably reached the end. Although to be honest, the more competitive versions aren't really playing Winda.
They don't even play Winda.
But to be honest, I just think Winda has, you've been around long enough, Winda.
Yeah.
I think it's time for
goodbye.
you to say goodbye.
Yeah. Oh my god. Fuck that card. I hate that card so much. Why is it on any monster? That's so stupid. Why is it a hand trap? I don't understand.
Why is it a dark?
Why is it a dark?
Why do they have to keep printing?
Why are pistols a thing?
Darks?
Yeah, I don't know. Why are pistols a thing? I guess they're supposed to counter
They counter it a little
They're
bit.
counter.
But they're also light and dark monsters,
Yeah, it's so
so they also get all the benefits.
yeah, so dumb.
I've talked about this before. I don't know if I have on the podcast yet, but I'm talking over my. I have an episode recorded that's the buffer episode if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And in that one I talk about this, but I'll go ahead and I'll start now. Someday y'all will hear that.
Yeah,
buffer
of course.
But I really want them to release a sequence of sets.
Yeah.
That is literally the code is fire, wind, water without the E, water, and then earth without the A, earth. And these huge sets that really buff up those four attributes because they're so much worse.
There's oh my god, there's so many light and dark, and then oh my god, I remember at some point I played against a Salad player 5 times, and I was like, I swear to God, I never bought the earth one, the earth elemental hero that you can use a hero and then plus an earth monster, nor the fire one because no one fucking plays. Literally, no one plays them.
Yeah.
No. I have
you wouldn't. You play Absolute Zero because it's good, not because it has anything to do with water.
Yeah, it's good.
It's just a good card.
And then now you play Great Tornado because Flunder is a budget deck, and everyone's playing Flunder.
Yeah.
But everything else is you play the Shining sometimes, but the Shining's kind of useless. The Escurity Dow is really good because you get locked in the darts.
Mm-hmm.
We don't play a main deck fire monster, nor do we play a main deck earth monster, and there's not enough pyro players to justify putting Nova Master in. Mm-hmm. So I do wish they had more.
I wish those four were buffed up a bit more.
Yeah, especially the water ones because I want Trishula to be good. I think
water is probably the most supported. If we
genuinely,
I think dark is probably the most supported. We probably agree on that, right?
Yeah.
The reason why everyone's playing the Dark Charmer, unironically, just because it's going to be busted.
Yeah.
But not really that many people are playing the Light Charmer. But then I think the next best one's probably Light.
Yeah,
It's interesting though because Dark, it's we have a lot of dark support cards.
Yeah.
Right, Allure of Darkness, still a good card.
Yeah.
A lot of other cards that do things with.
But compared to Light, I mean, there's no Allure of Light.
Yeah, there aren't really that many good, but it's just that there are more good light decks.
Yeah.
But then we have water. And it's
Water's
we actually
they have
as good as light, but at least they have
at least they have something to play with.
They have Moray of Greed, and it's Swap Frog actually says water in its text.
Yeah.
And the Mermails all say water specifically, and the Atlanteans specifically interact with water monsters. So there's a lot more stuff that actually has to do with it. It's just not very good.
I guess the next one would be Wind, right? Because
I mean, the next one might be Wind just because there are more good Wind strategies.
Yeah,
and a lot of the Synchro boss monsters are Wind monsters.
Yeah. That's true.
Which that might be what makes it.
But
it's not
it's not
good.
Yeah.
It's not good because of the Wind. I don't know. The Wind might be just a tiny bit better because it's so close with the Synchro mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that's so much Synchro stuff happens to be Wind, which means that even if you get Wind locked in something, it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. And I guess the last one would just be...
Well, then we got Fire and Earth. And it's
Earth has more support than Fire.
Earth has more support, but oddly enough, it's been so long since they printed a good Earth deck. Probably because they're scared.
Yeah.
That if they do, then suddenly all this old Earth stuff
just
will come
fucking comes out. Yeah, it comes out of the ground.
Merge.
Yeah.
And we actually had a good Fire deck. It was Salad.
Oh, I completely forgot about Salad. I was thinking more when I thought about Earth, I thought Adamantipator's Prank Kids.
I mean, the fact that they were Earth didn't really matter.
Oh, I guess not. Yeah. Well, honestly just
Adamantipator is a good card though.
Yeah, for real.
But then but for Salad it matters because you're locked in. Morale Stalia locks you into only fire effects, monster effects. So if there was some fire monster that gave you a negate, Regulus.
Oh,
the machine, Earth machine that gives you a negate if you have machines.
Yeah.
If they had one of those 4 fire monsters, that would make Salad infinitely more playable, because then you'd actually have an answer to Nibiru.
Yeah.
You'd actually be able to put it in the gate.
Yeah.
The problem is that they have no way, when being locked into fire, there is no way for you to put up in a gate.
Goofy.
That's well, with like winds, it's like even if you lock yourself in wind, you can still put up in a gate because Appaloosa.
Appaloosa, like, there's like tons of other stuff that you can like
with water. There's like you can hand loop your opponent. You've got like Minstrel, which lets you literally pick a card out of your opponent's hand and banish it for the turn. That'll let you play around Nibiru.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
I kind of wish like Yu-Gi-Oh followed like Magic's philosophy, because they have different colors in Magic.
Yeah.
And those color like each of those colors, like they have their thing they do really good and their things they lose to, but they don't like copy each other except green. Green does everything, but everyone hates green and no one likes green, so it doesn't matter anyways.
Okay.
But it's like red is like super aggro, and they have like a lot of like single like target like spells that like pop stuff, and like black like it's the one where you lose life but you like gain an advantage from it. Blue like counter spells, but blue doesn't have like a specific thing that like bolts like that like destroys something, right? They just have kind of like counters and stuff. Lights is like creatures and stuff, but like I wish they did that where it's like dark was like one thing that they kind of did, instead of like dark is like everyone's dark because everyone's evil in some way, but also dark is kind of like the most generic one.
I think that they should play into the gimmicks more.
Yeah, I think they should just 100%.
Like fire, it's like all about fire. It's like so much of it is destruction, and like for the reason that the salads were fire is because it's reincarnation, like the
like a phoenix.
Was the idea, but also they had a lot of destruction effects.
Yeah,
and they had protection from destruction with Banelings.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of it revolved around destruction, so that just destruction effects are heavily linked with fire as a mechanic.
Yeah,
which that's cool. I like that. But I do also like that Yu-Gi-Oh plays fast and loose with its rules.
Yeah, where it's like
I think that's a unique thing about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, you can genuinely you can really like mix match like decks like really well. Like honestly, I'll say it, there's some like archetypes that will like honestly like lock you into stuff, and that's really annoying. It's like I saw a cool connection where it's like this card sounded like in a weird way synergizes with this like random card, right?
Yeah.
And you can combine that, and like that's cool. But I do wish there were kind of archetype locking like sprites.
I think there should definitely. I've talked to a lot of people, and everyone seems to agree. There should be more strategies with harder locks.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, please, God.
Just the way Yu-Gi-Oh is, with how massive the card pool is and how many innumerable interactions exist.
It's hard to do that.
Smart.
Yeah,
to put more hard locks on stuff.
Yeah, please, God. I wish everything, more of the staple cards for certain like archetypes and stuff had like the Cross Crusader lock, where it's like if you did anything else, tough shit. You can't do anything else. So
yeah, I remember. I think I have talked about this on the podcast before. I really think that the range of decks that are not good but can consistently pull off their gimmick.
Yeah,
there needs to be more of those.
100%.
I think about vampires.
My God, aren't those like the ones they like steal their opponent's cards, right? Yes, that's sick.
Vampires are zombies, and I think the best one to illustrate this is I can't remember what his name is, like Duke or something. But he's a rank 6, and he has the text.
I think I may have
where
seen
he you can use monsters your opponent, like if you've taken control of something, you can treat it as a level 6.
Oh, yes, okay.
So if you take your opponent's mark, so let's Vampire Sheridan. So he is a level 6, a rank 6, and he's a zombie because all vampires are zombies. You can use a monster with a level that is owned by your opponent for the Xyz summon of this card, treat it as level 6. So if you somehow take one of your opponent's monsters, or both, it does say A. If you're using a monsters, you can literally, if you take two monsters with levels, you can just immediately slap Sheridan on top. And then what does Sheridan do? You detach a card, just target a card and send it to the graveyard. So it's kind of like, he's a vampire, he's killing something.
Like killing, yeah.
But then, if something's sent to the graveyard, cough, cough, the first effect,
yeah,
you can detach a material to summon it to your field. So he goes and he bites the opponent's
And then
monster,
they become
and then they become a vampire. You take control of them.
That's so cool. And it's like the same thing, because there's the rank 8, because I played it in Grand Module. There's the rank 8 where if you steal one, you can like overlay, and it's like, it becomes a level 8 for you that you can use.
The level 8 lets you, also lets you use your opponent's stuff. And what the level 8 does is it mills off of both players' decks.
Yeah.
And the idea is, you can take something off your own, which is what most people are actually using it for. But in context, you're supposed to take your opponent's monster.
Yeah.
Like, you're reviving
they're
dead. Like, you killed it from their deck.
That's so...
And revived it to your side of the field. And they've also got a Link monster that came out recently. They'll let you summon something from your... You get to summon something from your opponent's graveyard. And also, you contribute, I think it's self, whatever, to take control. And now both of those are owned by your opponent.
Yeah, and
so you can slap a Sheridan on top. The gimmick is just so neat.
It's so good. It's like immaculate.
If you look at the cards, like, they don't have enough main deck cards to really facilitate pulling it off.
Yeah.
You're way better off playing like Zombie World, and then occasionally you get to play with the vampire cards. But if they had more main deck cards that helped them get into this strategy and put in maybe some hard locks to lock them into zombie, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be like a really fun strategy.
It could be really cool.
Yeah, it's
And like, it doesn't need to be competitive. It's just if they can go in and, going second, because vampire, presumably the idea would be to go second. Going second, they can consistently kind of rip up their opponent's board by taking control of all that crap and making their own Xyz monsters on top. That'd be really cool. Even if it wasn't very good, it couldn't push through that many negates, or maybe there was some mechanic in there that made it hard for them to attack for game, whatever, that prevented them from being very good. But at least consistently, they took control of all their opponent's crap and made really cool Xyz monsters that fit the gimmick.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I think there would be no one who would dislike that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. But, yeah, I just wish they had more hard... I wish the game had more hard locks, because I know a lot of people are like, the moment Konami like releases like a crazy card, it's like, can I play that in my deck? And usually, the answer is yes. Especially now, the answer's been yes, and it sucks. But it is what it is.
Yeah, more cards that are hard locked into different things, I think, is probably a good idea.
They definitely should start doing that. Like, especially like this recent set, like Pistols. You can play Pistols in like
everything.
Literally everything. And it's like crazy good.
It's also just a great idea for Legacy support.
Yeah, on it, like,
because you can print Legacy support, and that Legacy support is not for people to put in their modern decks. Is the Legacy support.
Yeah.
It's for them to put in that old deck to revive that old strategy. You put a hard lock on that,
and you're good to go.
You don't have to made the deck better. People aren't gonna care.
Yeah. Like, even if it's like, it's just terrible. Because like, even like, there's the new Pankratops card. It's like
completely generic. Yeah.
Completely generic. Like, why? It's and it's like, it's weird because like those starter cards, they don't lock you, but the moment when you want to actually play the deck, like play the pure version, then it locks you for some reason. It should just be like the first thing you do is like it locks you.
Yeah.
Fuck Yu-Gi-Oh. But I love Heroes. But anyways, yeah, Heroes are like the best deck. I hate every deck.
I hate all of them.
I hate every single deck. That isn't Heroes, because Heroes are just, they lock you on like the first thing you do, and it's like, oh my god, now I'm just stuck with
literally
playing.
You always just start with Ferris, and it's like, oh, guess that's
Hero time. Yeah, I love Heroes.
I think this was a good conversation.
I think this was a very good conversation. I got way more into it.
I think this might be like our longest one. I'm not sure though. Anyway.
Well, we can cut it down. Anyways,
we
can cut it down. I'm not doing any of that. But yeah, it was really fun talking to you. I'd love to get on again. I want to try getting with like a three-way people to like have ideas bounce off of.
I think as we finish kind of going through our whole cast of all these people, we already had one that had 3 people.
Yeah, that one was.
What people might not know is there have been 2 episodes that had a observer, we'll call them, someone who wanted to be there but didn't want to be talking very much, which is just kind of... One of them I didn't know about. They were just like, the person that I wanted to talk to was like, yeah, this person, they want to listen. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So we just had
Yeah, just literally just.
They're just there. And then later on, similar sort of thing happened. Yeah, I think they talked once, so maybe some people will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as we go on, there'll be more. The current setup we're using doesn't really facilitate that, but
you know,
you have a mic.
I do have a mic. I would love to bring like an actual, just like regular. Cause I have like just an actual generic microphone, but I don't know if the computer has USB.
Nope, USB-C.
That's okay. We'll find.
I own a converter.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way. We'll find a way. But definitely, I want to try this again because this is really fun.
Yeah.
I had a good conversation talking about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks
of
for
course.
coming.
Okay, thank you, Buck. I'll sure to clap everyone up just for you.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks for listening, and goodbye.